What's up, lemon heads? Welcome back to another episode of From the Yellow Chair. I'm flying solo, but I have a very special guest in the lemonade stand today. And I think this is going to be a topic that so many people are going to be able to relate to, from the entrepreneurial journey, how to manage and cope with some ADHD tendencies that a lot of us have, and shiny object syndrome, but how to harness that and utilize resources to help us all be productive, powerful business owners and entrepreneurs. And so I'm so excited to dive into this with our guest, Melody Edwards. And without further ado, let's sip some lemonade.
Oh my God, I love all of this. Sorry.
All right. So joining us today, like I said, in the lemonade stand is Melody. She is an entrepreneur with over 25 years of experience in the home service business. She has a very unique journey, owning her own business, operating multiple businesses in the home service industry. And she's co-founded homeservice.va to help business owners gain back their time and freedom using virtual assistants. So I'm very excited to have you today, Melody.
Oh, I'm excited to be here. Thank you. And it's homeserviceva.com. That's
I'm
what
sorry, I said it wrong.
Okay.
Homeserviceva.com. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well, so I hit on the high points, but of course you can do it much better. So tell us more about you. Give us more of the winding roads inside of those high points.
Okay. So I did not grow up in the trades at all. It was
Me
not
neither.
I didn't know that was, I wanted to go to trade school, believe it or not, but I wanted to go for like cooking or something, which is crazy to me now. But really, I started accidentally cleaning windows when I was 17. I was saving money for a trip to Europe, and I really hated it. But I found after that trip that I just kept coming back to it. A family friend owned that company. And window cleaning, like most of the trades, not a lot of women in it.
Yeah.
And I was just lucky that I had a family friend who needed help. And he eventually sold me that company. And then I eventually sold it to my employees. And since then, so I did window cleaning. I still consider myself a window cleaner, even though, because I do one job a year for them. And so I just sold a holiday lights company, which was my final home service company that I owned. I even had a coffee shop. I did pressure washing, all the things. I'm also a woodworker, so I'm very much a hands-on lady. I love all the things. I like to know how they work. But during that journey, I definitely struggled a lot, as we all do. I always say people in home service, we don't end up here because we went to Harvard and then we're like, guess what? I'm going to go to the trades now or do home service, right? Most of us maybe struggled in school or did a different route or had a different way of learning. And we all kind of came out maybe with a little bit of a lot of my friends and I, we have a little chip on our shoulder of like, I'll show you, world. I'm smart. I'm going to start my own business. Nobody can tell me what to do. And on that journey, I really have done a lot of like self-discovery. I was diagnosed with ADD when I was 30. And that really changed the way that I looked at everything about my life. Instead of looking at everything as failure in a way, I started realizing I can do things the way that I want to do them. I don't have to follow the script. And eventually I got into virtual assistant world, which is where you find me now. I got a virtual assistant to help me with my window cleaning business many years ago. And I hired her for 20 hours a week. Within 3 weeks, she was working 50 hours a week because she was a good match for me. But also I didn't realize how much somebody who is skilled could do for me. And I was open to it. And so she's the co-founder of Home Service VA. We are business partners. She's in the Philippines. I am here. And we basically created the business that we wish had existed when we first started working together. So a lot of training, a lot of support, and we love what we do. And we're very good at it too. We've worked with hundreds of people in the trades and home service, especially.
That's fantastic. Okay, there's so many things I want to kind of dissect and dive into there. So first, let me start with kind of the understanding yourself and doing that self-reflection when you discover ADD, ADHD, or just ADD?
ADD. I mean, I don't know. Honestly, I think they only have one nowadays.
Oh,
but,
do they? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So as you've started to kind of develop or understand that more, how has that changed your way of working and how you reach out for help and delegate or shift things? How did understanding that about yourself change things for you?
So I was in college at the time, finishing it up for like the 10th time. And my doctor said to me, I wouldn't say this to somebody who's just going to sit around and sit on the couch, but I think you should go get tested. And what it did for me is it really taught me how I learn and how I think and all of these things. In school, we are taught how to learn. We are taught how to think. And my husband's an engineer. He's great at that way of thinking. I never was, so I never fit in. But instead of feeling like that's some sort of magic, it felt like a deficit. And so over time, once I discovered that diagnosis, I want to say I read all the books. I really skimmed all the books because that's what I do. I listened. I've always been learning. I joined a lot of coaching groups and done a lot of therapy. And really what I've learned is that for me, what I really want overall, we always say time is the most valuable asset, right? Well, energy is actually the most valuable to me. And here's why, because I'm a 47-year-old woman and I don't have the same energy that I did when I was 30. And that's what made me realize, oh, this is a thing that doesn't necessarily stay the same. So everything that I can do to get rid of the things that drain my energy, I can give to somebody else. That's what my assistant does for me. And then because I want to live in that sparkly part of my brain where I get to like do the best creative thinking and grow the business, and look forward. I'm really future looking. But that being said, because we always say people, I say with virtual assistants, and if you see ads for it, they'll say, free up your time so that you can have the freedom you've always hoped to enjoy. Well, entrepreneurs are not going to free up anything if they're like
something new. Yeah.
always something new. And I call myself a recovering workaholic because it's something I really work hard to not. I work hard. Okay. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To not be like, I don't want to just be work. But the thing is, the kinds of work we do tends to be busy work, when really the kind of work we should be doing with the big brain work, the thinking, that's hard work. And most of us don't like doing hard work like that because it takes a lot of energy to get into that zone. So I've learned kind of my skill set is I'm really good at making very simple systems that trick people into doing the things that they want to do. And that includes business owners who work with us. And I make it as easy as possible while making it so that they can give their assistants, if they work with us, the information that they need to be supportive of them. So we're really good at teaching communication, compressing the amount of time it takes for people to develop a close working relationship. And we're good at, we do a lot of training even with clients, but of course, it's all quick video training. I'm really thoughtful of who I am. And if anybody's like me, then this is perfect for them. And if anybody is better than me at these kinds of things, like I know those mega business people who are just really driven, this is like a piece of cake, like for them. So I made it for people like me who might struggle a little bit with systems or things like that. But anybody else can also do this system that we've created. And we've worked with hundreds of people successfully.
That's awesome. So I love several things you said there too. And just, it sounds like you're very thoughtful of who you are. And like, I love how you even said like the sparkly part of your brain.
Oh yeah.
A lot of people could chop that up to being a negative, like, well, I have ADD, so I'm just off to do this. And like, I could never stop and focus and tell someone else what to do. But like, you're like, no, this is a different part. It's a sparkly part. Okay. It has its rhyme and reason and its place. And then here's how I've learned to harness that. So that's fantastic.
Can I say one thing about my assistant? I have an executive assistant, and her whole job is to manage me. I call her the melody manager because I don't want to manage somebody else. I don't need more management tasks.
Yeah.
What I need is somebody to be my communication buffer, to be like the person who's watching all of the things in the company so I can like be more removed. I don't never go in my inbox. They do that for me. So. Wow. Literally my Facebook messages are answered usually by them if they get to it first. They run my life and I love it. I love not going in inbox.
So help me, because like I'm probably like somewhere in the middle. So I don't have a virtual assistant at this point, but it is something that has highly piqued my interest. I know there's some people that are like, there's no way like I could have one. And then some people are like, oh my gosh, you'll never look back. So tell me, like, for someone who's like maybe in the middle, like, okay, how can this really become reality? And like you said, you give the information that people need to be able to make this a successful relationship. So
Yeah,
like it can be kind of a foreign concept that someone could answer emails for me, but like break that down a little bit more to like how it is possible and it's a successful way of doing
I would
things.
love to. So the system I created is so simple, it's brilliant, and I don't say that lightly because I love it so much. And I can tell you in the next 3 minutes how somebody in the next week could take over your email, answer like you, never talk that say that they are you.
Yeah, yeah.
They could respond exactly like you, or let's say any company that's out there. So what I do when somebody new comes in is I give them access to the inbox, and let's say it's for a plumbing company or whatever. Every email that needs to be answered, or anything, any question, anything that's it's already been written. Every email has already been written if you've been around for a year or two.
Yeah.
And they're going to study, they're going to go in and they're going to start looking for the types of emails that tend to come in. And if you're smart, you're going to give them a list of like, usually we have, prospect emails, or we have like returning customers, or we have every time they see something that's a question that's been answered, that's going to become an FAQ template, or yeah. And then anytime they see a problem that's been solved, that's now a troubleshooting template. They're going to build templates for you. One of the things I say to business owners who already have office templates for people, you're not allowing people to take agency over that work when we give them the answer, and it's not the answer, right? When we give a template, it doesn't like help them. It helps them to do cookie cutter, but not
Yeah.
not teaching them how to think.
Yeah.
So they're actively taking over the inbox. When they're done putting templates together, they're going to send them to you. You're not going to touch them. You're going to send them a quick screen recording video, like a Loom video, and say, these look great, but now I'm going to tell you what changes need to be made to them and why. So you're going to explain. They're going to go back. They're going to do the work again, owning that information. And then you go back and forth until you have a pretty good set of templates. Even if you already have templates, I would suggest that you get rid of them for now to
Right.
let the person do this work. Then they can start drafting emails for you. They're not going to go straight to send, but you're going to trust them to draft.
Mm-hmm.
If the email's good, they send it out. You just say, go ahead and send it. If it's not, make a quick Loom, explain what needs to be changed and why. They change it. When they're about 80 to 90% really good at sending, and the other time they're asking the right questions, or they're saying, hey, I think you need to deal with this, they're ready to take over your email. You're going to trust them completely because you just watch them learn,
Yeah.
and it's all going to be the way that you communicate. But they'll never say you're going to be representing, or they're going to be representing the company like you would speak it, like they're using that language. And so it's really kind of a simple way and it's not a lot of work for you. Did you have to train? Like usually what I used to do is I'd sit in a computer and type an email and explain what I was doing. And that doesn't teach anything.
Right. Well, and I think again, it kind of goes back to the self awareness of you. You have to describe, hey, here's how I would have done this differently, so they can really get to know you. But like, you have to be able to articulate it and know what you want and set those clear expectations. And I think setting clear expectations is one of the best gifts that you can give somebody, because how could they meet them if you don't know? If they
Yeah.
don't know what your expectations are, but if you can provide that to them, they want to meet it. So the self awareness to give good feedback, give good explanations and expectations, I think is really good. So,
To
okay,
make it easy. Yeah. To make it easy for you and for them is important.
so that all sounds like well and good, but like, how do you find these people? Like, how do you like to where like they can learn and like retain? Because like someone's gonna be like, why do you not get this yet? With sometimes people and stuff, but like, how do you find great people and teach them to be able to learn from my communication
Yes.
style or things like that?
So I'll go back to my window cleaning world. Most people in the trades are not necessarily great at training people
What?
or hiring
What?
or hiring people.
Melody.
And I know it's very controversial to say that.
No, it's very true though. I'm being
It
sarcastic.
is,
Yes.
because we learn with our hands and then we teach with our hands, right? And so I just gave this example today. a lot of times business owners will take somebody into the field and throw them in and just say, hey, but they're already running late now because they're bringing somebody into the field and that takes time. And so they're going to say, look, I have to Mickey Mouse this thing the way that I would do it with my 10 years of experience, but you're going to listen to my words as I tell you how you should do it the right way when you're a beginner. Now, this poor person that you're training is confused already because they're watching you do one thing, but you're saying, don't do what I'm doing, do it the way I'm saying. And so people get upset when those people are not catching on fast, and then they think, wow, why are they such an idiot? And then they start to micromanage them and so on. That's how that happens. And so we Americans, and I'll come back to the whole where do we find these or how do we find these people. My gift is training. My gift is understanding people, hiring people, and figuring out how to teach people things, especially about communication, that maybe other people don't always know how to do, if I could say it like that. Like, I spent this whole week training new VAs for our company, and most all of the training was deep level communication skills, more than most people would get. We did deep disc training. We did training on how people learn. How do how do you receive and how do you give information?
Mm-hmm.
So I know I'm going on an ADD tangent here, so let me go back to how we do it. My business partner, Dean, lives in the Philippines. And we have, because of my years of experience of like iterations of figuring out what works and how to get really good, I'm one of probably the only people in the world that I mean, I'm going to say this with confidence, but I don't know this for sure. I know how to hire women into the trades. I 100%, my system works. The people who bought my window cleaning company, they had 5 women on their team last year. That's unheard of in the industry. And
Yeah.
it's because I've learned how to attract certain types of people. And it's not about having women or men, but just the people that I want on my teams. And so having all of this knowledge, we go really deep into finding the right people, attracting the right people, and then putting them through a hiring funnel that includes testing and we do a lot of interviews. We want to look at their experience. Not everybody is meant to work from home, so they might have office experience, but they might not be good at working from home.
Mm-hmm.
Or and we look at DISC assessments for both clients, and so behavioral assessments when we're matching clients and VAs, not to match them, but to figure out how can they communicate well together.
Sure.
So we do a lot of things to find the right people. And guess what? We're still not perfect. We're not perfect at it because people are imperfect, and it's art and science. And when we're not good, when we make a match that maybe isn't the right match, we do it again. That's
Mm-hmm.
it. But we've already had them create the training ahead of time. So we have like a system that makes it so that the business owner doesn't end up with a VA on day one and they have to start training them. Because I know that every business owner is going to have about 100 fires that come up every single day, no matter what they think.
Mm-hmm.
And so we take care of making sure the VA is set up with the right training ahead of time. And there's a lot that goes into it, and the time is compressed, but this is kind of where we really excel. On average, we measure it by month, but we have an 82 to 88% success rate for our matches on first matches, which is super high for this industry. And then on second matches, we have up a high 90, like very high 90% success rate. Very, very rarely would it ever go to a third match. And at that point, it might be that business owner is not, it might be they didn't follow my system, or that there's usually something else that's happening.
Yeah.
So I never promise perfection, but I always promise we're going to keep going and figure out how to make you successful with this.
Sure. Sure. So if I was a contractor, like what would you say, or what have you seen has been like maybe like the most surprising thing that contractors have discovered by working with a virtual assistant? Like if they're maybe they're like, I didn't realize that this is what this would be able to do for me, or that this is what I would free up, or that they'd be able to answer those types of questions. What do you think has been the most surprising thing?
I think using our system, what I usually say to people first is a VA can do anything, but they can't do everything.
Mm.
Because people we hire are growth-minded people. They want to learn, they want to grow. And so let's say you hire them. We have 3 roles that we hire in specifically, which is a CSR general office admin type role, a sales role, and then an executive assistant. Most people are hiring in the trades for a CSR or sales role.
Mhm.
For the CSR role, they can do pretty much anything. Filipinos learn American English and they speak very, very well with very neutral accents. A lot of clients are, before they work with us, are afraid, like, my customers only want to hear Americans. We all have that fear, every single person.
Yeah.
But they're going to sound like your employee because we teach them how to learn everything about where you live, how to pronounce the places where you live. And I like them to take the tech training that you would have your technicians learn, if
I
there's
mean,
videos for that.
so are you saying you could train them to speak East Texan like this?
No. But we can train them, or they can learn the kinds of phrases that you guys,
Right.
I don't know the phrases of East Texas, but I know that they can learn that stuff.
Sure.
Um, and the more that they learn about your area, about the local
Mhm.
lore, the cool places, the more they can relate with the client. Because it's,
Sure.
and that can happen when they're on the other side of the world.
Hmm. That's great. Okay, so you've mentioned this a few times. So majority of the virtual assistants are from the Philippines. Is that right?
Yes. We only work with Filipinos because my partner's there.
Okay.
And I know I've lived in other countries before, and what I know is that I don't know everything about culture. And so I wanted to make sure that we are really paying attention to the things that would come up that Americans probably wouldn't understand or know. So I teach our clients about all of this, but they're very Americanized. And they've been working for Americans for decades.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, and I know, like, what I'm picking up on is you're about finding their best skills, your best skills, and how to make partnerships and create real
yes,
purpose. And so um, I think you're, by enabling these tools and resources, you're allowing everyone to do the best that they can possibly do, and not
that's
just be
the
stuck
goal.
in doing the things that they're not the best at.
Well, and for sales, for instance, what are salespeople good at? They're good at selling. What are they
Mhm.
not good at? They're not good at paperwork or anything that's not
Documentation.
sales,
Yes. Yeah.
right? And
Exactly.
so imagine how much more successful your salesperson is going to be if they have a sales support person on the back end who's getting cold leads together, like lists for them to
Mm.
call, or doing the pre-qualifications of people. Like, they can set them up for more success for you. Like, there's so many different ways you can use virtual assistants, and they have so much experience in many different areas. So my favorite, of course, is the executive assistant, the melody manager, because that's somebody who's going to help run your business, run your life. My assistant does all my travel planning for me because I'm very specific about how I like things, but I help business owners be able to say this without having to think. So
Mm.
thinking is hard. So checklists are not. So, or check boxes. So that's how we kind of handle it in the company.
Well, like you said, that energy aspect of it, that's
Yes.
what's hard and stuff. No, very cool. Well, another thing you said that I'm intrigued on is the depth that you go into the personality and
Oh yeah.
communication style. I mean, like, I'm like, man, could we have used that in our business today? Like, and we have 30 women and 2 guys, and sometimes we can be like, oh my gosh, there's just too much emotion and drama with
Oh
all the
yeah.
females. But then we can look at the guys and be like, why can't you multitask? And
I know.
but in
Absolutely.
reality, it takes all types of people.
It
Like you
does.
said, a salesperson is great at talking to people, but they have terrible documentation or processes, things like that. On the
Yes.
flip, if you made a super organized detail, likes to be behind it, if you made them go sell it, they would freeze in their
Yeah.
boots, And
Yeah.
so understanding and learning how to utilize everyone's skills the best, to me, that's fascinating. And like, I want our whole team to go into them because we've all done the disc profile, but we
Ooh,
set a much deeper disc.
that's what we do, is especially when we onboard clients with their assistant, we actually do almost all of that onboarding is about communication.
Mm.
And I it's kind of like business therapy where I'm
Mm.
starting a conversation for these two people that would not naturally happen and opening a door so that they can like kind of get rid of that first month of trying to figure each other out and figure
Yeah.
out what's
Okay.
okay and not. So that's the magic of DISC is not, it's just helping to get rid of that time and then create the trust very, very quickly.
That's fantastic. So you said so like the executive assistant sounds the most intriguing to me personally, but in the home service industry, the CSR role is the majority of what your services are utilized for.
So if a business owner has one or two business, if a business owner has two businesses, I usually say get an executive assistant because what they are is they're kind of like a higher level eyes on the company for you. So they're paying attention so that you're not in the day to day of anything in particular. When I had home service VA and my holiday lights company, my VA was running part of the office of holiday lights and also being my placeholder in home service VA. And so there's like a lot that they can do, but it's a much higher level of support. The general would be the CSR role, and it could be just taking phone calls. If you have an office manager already and they're not able to do the things that are actually the projects that have been on the back burner
Mm,
forever, or the things that are going to really like move, they're good at customer calls, but they don't have time to check in because
yeah.
they're taking calls all day. You can have somebody come in and do that part or do the data entry. There's so much that can be done from a support perspective. So it's so many different things. We really like to find out where people's areas of weakness are right now or what's going on in their company because we really customize it to what their company is going through because it's not one size fit all.
No, for sure not. For sure not. And I know you figured out like the time zone difference and things like that. Like you,
Yes,
yeah, I know that could probably be another fear of contractors.
it is. I think what they need to understand is that Filipinos, it's a coveted role to work as a virtual assistant.
Wow.
It can take an hour and a half. My old assistant, she traveled an hour to an hour and a half to get to work every day, there and back. And then, so that's 3 hours of travel, and then being in work all day, and then dealing with all the traffic there. To be able to just work from home is a blessing. To be able to see, even if it's night, a lot of shifts at call centers are night too. So sometimes they're still at night, but to be able to be home with your kids during the day or, it's just a really good job. And so we might feel guilty of like, oh, how are they going to do that? Well, that's how my salesperson has been doing overnights for 15 years. That's just the life that she leads. And the other thing to know is like we really believe in a living wage and providing people with good benefits and a wage in the Philippines is not hard. And so for our services, it's, $600 a week is going to get you a full-time person who is going to be able to do a lot for you. You're going to get a lot. What could you do with those 20 hours of email time that you're doing right now? What would you be able to, how much more would you be able to sell or do? So it's cost, it's an investment. But yeah, it's really powerful to be able to have somebody come into your company and you're also changing their life. And it's really hard in America to make life changes the way you can for somebody in the Philippines just by giving them a good job. And they'll be staying a lot longer with you because of that.
Wow. That's a crucial piece. Yeah. Them staying with you and like not having to redo this again in 6 months. Things like
Yes.
that. Yeah. Well, Melody, I have really enjoyed our conversation. It's super piqued my interest, and I know it's going to pique a lot of the interest of lots of other listeners here. And so, Melody, how could people get in contact with you if they wanted to?
Well, if they go to our website in homeserviceva.com, they could do a set up a discovery call, or they can find me on Facebook, Melody S. Edwards, and just message me because that's a way a lot of contractors tend to reach out. I'd be happy to chat and see if we can help.
That's awesome. Well, I've thoroughly enjoyed our conversation and how we've revolved around how to harness the power of virtual assistants for home service businesses. And so, thank you for all of your insight and sharing some of your journey and what you've developed now to streamline operations, increase productivity, and regain time and freedom in your business. And so, thank you for sharing all that. I've really enjoyed this today.
Oh, me too. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Lemonheads, for listening to another episode. If you wouldn't mind, leave us a review, give us a share, follow us on all the social medias. We're there. We would love to see you on those channels and interacting with us. If you see it as at a show, just look for Yellow. Come up and give us a high five, give us a hug. We'll love to talk to you. So, thank you for listening to another episode. Bye.